everyone, welcome back to Cabin Crafts and Simple Living. I know it's been a while since I've made a video, but today I would like to show you how to do early American paint graining. And this was a art form that was started in early America to mimic expensive hardwoods like mahogany and things, and they couldn't afford that, and so they would decorate their furniture to look like different grains of wood. Then it kind of evolved into a folk arty type of thing, and so I'm going to show you how to do these things. Now, originally, graining would have been done with a powdered pigment, vinegar, and a little bit of sugar, and that's actually a very difficult recipe for me to try to get fixed right. So I'm all about easier and modern alternatives to get the same look. So what we're going to do today is how to do this the very simple way. But first I'm going to show you a couple of examples of early American grain decorating. Now, most of this was done on chest, I've noticed. There's also on tables and small boxes. But this is a grain decorated chest. Now, this is probably from the early 1800s. Here's another one. Aren't these cool? So this is more of the folk arty look. And you don't have to use, the traditional colors were mustard and burnt sienna, but this one is even greens, which is, look how wild and crazy that is, but that's beautiful. That is early 1800s. Here's a chest of drawers. Now this one, they're trying to mimic like tiger maple or something. So they were using this technique to faux grain cheaper pieces of wood like pine to look like a more expensive type of wood, such as figured maple, tiger maple, and mahogany. And they would do this on door frames, mantles, doors, to make their doors and their door frames look like they were exotic wood. So we're going to try this today. So we only need 2 ingredients. That's what's so cool about this. This is a jar of Valspar clear mixing glaze. Turn any paint color into a glaze, and that's what we're going to do. So we need this, and then this is just burnt sienna acrylic craft paint. That's all we need. Now, this is illustration board. You can see it's white on one side. It's pretty thick. So I have base coated all of these pieces of board with a yellow satin acrylic paint, latex paint, I mean. So this is a regular house latex paint. This is what's all over my store inside and out, and so I have a lot of it on hand all the time. So this is what we are using as our base coat. This is the traditional colors, is mustard yellow and burnt sienna. So the first one we're going to do is, let's do the comb one. So I have several different glazing tools here. I have a graining comb. This has different widths of teeth. This is actually in the paint department of really nice paint stores. This is for faux finishing. They still do this stuff today. So this is a graining comb. I've also got a sponge brush. I've also got feathers. And I've got a piece of torn corrugated cardboard. I think I'm going to tear that again if I can, to give myself a fresh surface. Okay, so the first one we're going to do is this comb graining. This looks really good on small boxes and trays and things. So I've already mixed up my latex and my glaze, or my acrylic paint and my glaze. And so it says, put my glasses on here, that you mix 4 to 8 parts of glaze with 1 part of paint. And to be honest with you all, I really didn't measure anything. I just squirted some paint in here and I put some glaze in there, and that's what I got. So the first one we're going to do is we're going to do the combing one. And what this glaze does is it gives movement to the paint, and it prolongs the drying time so that you can manipulate the paint on your surface. If this was regular craft paint, you wouldn't be able to manipulate it very well. This is a very slick surface, and I'm going to try and get my brush strokes even here. Maybe I should hold my card this way so I can avoid. There we go. All right. And I'm going to use this rounded end of the comb, and I'm just going to do some wavy lines. You can see where I already went over myself. So there's like that way, and then you can even go the opposite way. And we've got a totally different design. I think that's very cool. All right, so that is the graining comb. And of course, different sides will do different things, but we're just going to keep it simple today. All right, let's try this one. Let's do the cardboard. This one actually looks like a faux grain, almost like tiger maple. So let's try this one. And you can see how fast this goes. This does not take any type of artistic skills whatsoever. You can let your as you can see, as you saw on those other examples on the pictures, it just was whatever your heart desired. So here's our torn corrugated cardboard. And I'm just going to start up here in the corner. Look at that. Imagine that on a whole, all of that on a chest. How pretty that is. And again, like I said, we're doing the traditional burnt sienna and yellow background. This is a feather. Let's try that one. And the thing that's cool about this glaze, if you don't like the design you just did, you can take a damp paper towel and wipe it off and start over if you don't like the design you just did, because this is still very wet and movable. So let's try a feather. I'm going to get a turkey feather. I've got a small turkey feather. My husband's a turkey hunter, so we have a lot of feathers, and this one's got a little bit more substance to it. So I'm just going to drag a turkey feather across here. You could even go the opposite direction. Isn't that pretty? Very pretty. So that's our turkey feather. So then the next one we have I'm going to use the foam brush. Okay, and you can do different things with the foam brush. You can make, let me try and hold this down. You can make swirls or circles. And you can also do other designs within this. So there's a foam brush. And then you can even use your fingers. And you just take your raw finger, wipe it off, have a piece of paper towel handy. Now you can be uniform like I'm doing, or you can just do random polka dots, different sizes. I've even seen furniture in boxes with this. This is somebody's fingerprint. Isn't that neat? And then, if I can find it quickly, last but not least, you can sponge off your glaze with a bit of a sea sponge. Remember back in the 80s, some of you older ladies, whenever sponging walls was such a big craft, people were sponge painting their walls. Well, that wasn't just an 80s thing. That is actually an early American thing. That was a big way to decorate in the late 18th and early 19th century. People sponge painting their walls. And the reason why people were doing these things is because they wanted to mimic the look of expensive houses, you know, and they couldn't afford it. And so housewives would get, you know, kind of crafty. Women have always been crafty. I don't mean that in the mean way. I just mean women have always figured out a way to decorate their homes. So this is just a piece of sea sponge. You can get this at Hobby Lobby. But you can sponge off some of your glaze. So this is kind of like reverse sponging. You're sponging off instead of on, and it gives a mottled appearance. So this could also look like spalted wood, if you've ever seen spalted maple. So that is our different types of graining. We've got the sponge, we've got the cardboard, and I got a drop of glaze on it, but that's okay. That's the piece of corrugated board. We've got our comb. Oh, this is the one I just did. Our wavy comb. You've got the fingerprints, the feather, and the foam brush circles. And so there is a book out there for you all to buy if you want to. It's called False Graining Techniques, and there's several projects in this book. You can do band boxes. There's a combination of the fingerprints right there on the right. There's some of that cardboard on a frame. So this has got projects in it, how to add some other details. The comb, you can do the comb in so many directions. This lady is using her fingerprint on this little box. There's a comb tissue box. There's the cardboard scrap again. More combing. So it explains the techniques and things. I simplified their materials down to, again, just two things. False bar glaze and burnt sienna craft paint. Can be any brand. So I hope you enjoyed this. Do this on some picture frames or on a little box. Let your imagination go wild. You can do a combination of these things on one project. It doesn't matter. They would do that. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching. And please like and subscribe or make a comment. That helps me out a lot, and I appreciate it. And thank you again. Bye-bye.